All right, I'm pumped for this. We've been talking about this for a while, and today we are bringing on someone who's played such a massive role in my life over the last few years. It's one of my best friends, Kevin Clavier. Kevin is someone I've grown alongside in so many areas in faith, business, discipline, health, and mindset. And a lot of the conversations we've had off camera are the kind of conversations that really change you and shape you. And I feel like they're really great podcast episodes in general. And he's someone who doesn't just talk about growth, he lives it. He thinks deeply, he pushes the people around him, and he's had a massive transformation of his own over the last few years. And a lot of it I've been able to witness firsthand. So today we're going to talk through his journey, what shaped him, what he believes about growth, faith, identity, and recreating yourself. So, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Dang, that was impressive. I love that. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Mackenzie's like one of the best like personal hype machines, right?
Exactly. That's why I keep her around in my circle.
All right, this isn't about me though. We talked a little bit about your transformation, and I think it'd be fun to think about. And we always talk a lot about the version of you in a couple years ago so vastly different. I know you've alluded a little bit about to the version of you even before I met you, but what would that version of you at 18 years old be most surprised by today?
Yeah, that's a crazy question. And yeah, thinking about the transformation, I think about it all the time. 18-year-old me can't recognize this person. 18-year-old me depended on alcohol heavily. Didn't know what personal development was, to be honest, which is pretty crazy because my whole life is revolved around personal development now, helping other people break out of break out of their lack of awareness. And I would say the greatest thing for me has just becoming conscious, becoming aware, understanding who I am, and understand there is this world that you don't have to just follow the patterns of your past life, right? You can create your new future. You can do whatever you want. And that is something I wasn't aware of. So being able to build the self-esteem, the confidence to grow, to start a business and find out what those limiting beliefs were and take them out of my life to where I am now. It's just, I can't really describe what that feeling is from 18 to where I am at now. So,
Kevin, would you say that your confidence has grown since your 18-year-old self, or tell me about like your mental psyche at that age compared to now?
yeah, so I think there's a big difference between confidence and self-esteem. I always was confident. I was confident that I could do something. I think confidence is competence, right? I was confident that I was good at baseball. I was confident that I could show up and do things for people, right? But I didn't have the self-esteem, right? And I built that over the years, and that's really what's transformed me. And I think a lot of people that I've worked with in the past too, they say they're confident, but they have no self-esteem. And a lot of times we confuse the two. And when you don't have self-esteem, you don't have the self-worth, you don't believe that you're worthy of something, it destroys you, right? Because you're trying to do this thing and you don't realize, okay, why am I sabotaging? Why do I keep going into these same loops and sabotaging myself over and over again? It's not because you're not confident a lot of the times, it's because you have no self-esteem. You don't believe you're worthy. So if I got into a relationship, I would destroy it because I didn't think I was worthy of it, right? Or I would start something, I would destroy it because I didn't think I was worthy. And it's that story that you've been telling in your head over and over again that really affects everything that you do. And that's where your self-esteem comes from, right? So it's like breaking that pattern. So to answer your question, like confidence is something that has grown, but it's really grown off the back of understanding what self-esteem is and then building that.
So how do you get to that level? Because I think a lot of people, I mean, I relate to that very well. I was kind of the same type of way. I feel like I was very confident myself in a lot of things, but my self-esteem sucked. And it's taken me a long time to grow that self-esteem. And so how would you tell someone that's kind of in that same boat, whether they're 18 or 45 or however old, that hey, you know what? Like I get the confidence thing, but my self-esteem is just not where I want it to be. How do I grow that?
Well, self-esteem comes from the story that you tell yourself, the identity that you believe, right? So it's looking back at your patterns. I always knew I wanted to be a business owner. I literally went to business school, but I talked myself out of that, switched to a different major because I didn't think I was worthy. I did a meditation, a childhood meditation, went back to my 10-year-old self, and I realized it was because I got made fun of for reading in school all the time. So we did the popcorn reading out loud, and I got made fun of. They would pull me out of a class and put me in another class. So I always just thought I wasn't smart. That was a lie. That was a story that I adopted and a story that I lived with. So when I wanted to start a business, it always was, you're not smart enough, right? Because I never was in school. But the school system doesn't translate to real world. The school system doesn't necessarily mean you're smart or you're not. It's just a grade on a piece of paper. So understanding that was huge for me. So breaking Your self-esteem is going back and seeing your patterns and understanding, okay, why am I like this? Why do I believe this? If you don't question the belief, you can't change it. So most people don't want to question their beliefs because it's scary, right? So instead of questioning their belief, they just keep on reinforcing that. But if you go back and you look at a belief that you have and then you question it, then you can ask, okay, is that true? No, that's not true. Actually, I am pretty smart. I've done X, Y, and Z, and I can do this, and I'm good at that. And now you start to understand, okay, that belief isn't even true. So now I create a new story, which creates new patterns in my life. And now I can take the step to go do something. And that's how you build self esteem. It's breaking down the old stories, the old identity, the old beliefs that no longer serve you, and building new ones that are going to support you and push you forward. So it's really just looking at the past, because everything that you believe today is from the past. Someone taught you that. Someone taught you that in school. A kid said it to you on the playground. Your parents told it to you. And then you go back and you look at that and you go, okay, I don't have to believe that actually. And I have evidence now. And that's what the habits and routines are so important for, because now you start to build this evidence up and stack this evidence. And that's what you guys do is so powerful, right? You help people to go through transformations in their body. So if I can show up for the gym every day, now I'm starting to build that confidence and that self-esteem. But it has to be breaking the old patterns too, right? Because if you don't know why you do what you do, if you don't know why you go eat the foods that you eat, if you don't know why you keep sabotaging the relationships, you're just going to find another one. And it's going to keep happening. You'll do good for a little bit. You'll cycle back. You'll do the yo-yo diet, where you'll find a different relationship and you'll keep blaming everybody else in the world around you. But just go back, look at your past beliefs, look at the circumstances, look at the events that happened, and then separate the emotion from that and figure out, okay, this doesn't make sense. What makes sense to me? Question the belief, and then you can change. And that's really where that lasting change comes from.
I mean, I know you do as well. We use a lot of data, right, to make decisions for ourselves, for our clients, and I feel like it's similar to like with the stories, like you just said. We have to go back. We look at these stories that we create for ourselves, and then we say, "Is that really true? Like, are those things that are really backing that up?" And I think too often we don't look at all the data behind that. Okay, this is the way I feel about myself. Is that true? And we don't look at all the things that don't line up for that story. And they're like, where are you coming up with this story? Because there is no evidence to back your story. You're just totally going to that negative side of things, and there's no evidence for it.
Yeah, if you question somebody enough, they'll start to realize their story that they have doesn't make any sense, right? And yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. People are scared to look at themselves. So what do? We use avoidance, which is it's overeating, it's watching porn, it's watching television, it's always being plugged into something, scrolling on social media. That's a good distraction, because if you're distracted, you can't look at those lies, right? And then you don't have to worry about making a change in your life because you're constantly consuming something else. It's just an avoidance technique. Most people, most Americans live in doubt, they live in anxiety, they live in fear, and they live in avoidance.
That's so awesome. We talked about that last week, right, Mackenzie? You're talking about when you avoid things, and it goes away for a short period, right? And then our mind's like, "Oh, hey, remember last time we just kind of avoided this a little bit? We felt pretty good." And then do that again. We felt good. And then you just keep doing that and it gets worse and worse. It just kind of piles on top, like you were saying.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
And yeah, like, that's something that I used all of the things to avoid in my past, like we've talked about too. I guess for Kevin, what's one of the biggest habits that you've had to break that changed your life?
Mine was this past year, I gave up drinking for a year. And I think when you want to quit something, a lot of times we have the idea, but we don't change our identity, so it never happens. So I've said my whole life, I want to quit drinking. I want to stop every hangover. I'm done drinking this time. And it never happened. But I always said, because I would go for a couple of weeks, and I was like, yeah, sorry guys, I can't drink tonight. Can't go out. And I kept saying I can't. So I didn't have any power. As soon as I started saying I don't, but the most important part was actually making that commitment for a year. I finally committed. And there's a difference between trying to do something, and I hear clients say this all the time. I need to do this. I'm trying to do this. I want to do that. Okay, cool. Now you're in a lack state and you're trying to and wanting and needing all the time, and it never happens. I say, why don't you just say you're committed to it? Why don't you commit to it for once? As soon as you commit, that's when you start changing. So for me, drinking was when I finally committed and I said, I'm doing a year. I'm like a month away. And it's been easy because I actually committed this time. So that was one of the biggest habits that I changed. I mean, a small habit that's really helped me a lot is just getting more organized. Same thing, going back to limiting beliefs of saying I'm just not an organized person, and also just being in solitude as well. I always said I was a people person. I had to be around people. That was really just a cop out because I was in avoidance, right? I was avoiding being with my thoughts, being by myself. So actually sitting in the room by myself, meditating every morning. First thing I do every single day is take a 45-minute walk with no phone. And yeah, so I love being by myself. So I'd say those three were really big for me.
So it's that, like you said, it's creating that new identity, not just trying to change like a habit or trying to do something different. It's actually changing because this is the person that I'm becoming or I want to become.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't change your identity, you go back, and I think that's like everyone does the short term fixes, and it's not sustainable. It's got to be who you are, and that's why, like in my coaching program, in the last phase, we talk about the rewire that identity, rewire that nervous system, rewire your standards, and you have to change it with the language too. And a lot of people don't even realize the language that they're using. Everything I can talk to somebody in the first 5 minutes, I know if they're low self-esteem, I know if they're committed, I know if they're gonna follow through, I know everything. I can just tell by the words that they say, and people don't realize how powerful the words are, and even some words that we just use to avoid saying what we really mean, and it's just crazy, but yeah, if you don't shift your identity, you're always gonna go back because you go back to what you believe you're worth, and that's why self-esteem at the end of the day is so important. Even though men don't wanna talk about it, it is important.
What are some of the things that you just said you notice right away when you meet somebody, you talk to them? What are some of the words that you hear? What are some of the actions that tell you, oh, you know what, they need to change?
Yeah, so I already alluded to a couple of them. When they're saying, "I'm trying to do this," or "I need to do that," I know they're in a lack state. If they're saying "kinda" all the time, which most Americans do, or they're saying, "I don't know," or "I guess," between words, I know they're very unsure and they're not committed. It's a way to avoid. If I ask you a tough question and you say, "I guess," or "kinda," or "I don't know" before you answer, I know you're avoiding it, right? You just won't say it straight on. So if you avoid the truth and you won't state the facts, you'll never make a change. And most people just hop around what they're trying to say with these little filler words that halfway commit themselves. So those words, if you can just look at those and see those and be like, okay, yeah, because I'll have a client, I'll say, okay, now say that without saying that word. And they'll be like, and they'll be like choking, right? Because it hurts so bad to actually admit that without using that hedge. So taking those words out are so powerful because now you're just getting cleaner and clearer on what you're talking about and where you're going. And I mean, I've done this too. I've worked on these. I used to be the kind of person, right? So taking those words out just makes you so much more powerful, and people listen to you more. I always say to like every client, "Hey, before you worked with me, if I would have told you, hey, I kind of got this coaching program, I think it will kind of help you get to where you want to go." Or I say, "Hey, I got this coaching program. We're going to follow these steps and I know you're going to get results." Like the second one sounds so much cleaner and more sure. But everyone's saying kinda and I guess and I don't know because they're nervous or they have anxiety and they hold that anxiety in their body and it just comes out in words. So I can tell when someone just some people, I just got off the phone with a client the other day. I was like, dude, you're so clean. Everything you're saying is like so direct. And that's what his biggest goal was, to work on his confidence and his self-esteem. But the first call, he was just peppering me with, I guess, kinda, and I don't know. He couldn't say one sentence without saying that. And it's just so cool to see how much more I believe him, right? I believe what he's saying. And that's why he's getting results each week because he's actually doing and following through. But I can tell with the language that he's actually committed. He's not just saying it.
What would you say? Thinking, obviously, if someone's working with you, they have you. You're the support system. If they're, wanting to change, and whether it's they're like, you very outgoing person, or someone like me who's just very introverted, like, would you say community is a very strong thing to have for them to be able to change?
Yeah, I think community is huge. You can like everyone that comes in, they have relationships, and a lot of times people are living in codependency, where they're people pleasing, they're overdoing and extending and doing more for other people than they would do for themselves. And if you don't have boundaries in those relationships, it's going to be very hard because that's an addiction in itself. And a lot of people are trying to recover from addiction, whether it's codependency, whether it's avoidance, whatever those are. If you don't have the right people around you, it's going to be a lot more challenging. And the sad part is, which most people don't want to hear, when you do start to make these changes, other people will not be able to tolerate you and you won't be able to tolerate them. And it's just part of growing is because you go from one level of consciousness to another and you vibrate at each level. And when you're on one vibration, you're going to attract certain people that's going to feel right being around them. But as you grow, you start to vibrate on a higher level and you're not attracted to each other anymore. And that's just the sad reality. And that's why a lot of times in personal development and people start growing businesses and they start going through different phases of life, they start outgrowing the people that they were with. And so, yeah, finding the community that you love and supports you. And honestly, you don't have to be like everyone doesn't have to be in personal development. It's just mutual respect and understanding and having strong boundaries. And I think a lot of people really lack the boundaries in their relationships. They don't have boundaries. They can't walk away. They want to do everything for everyone. And that's just an insecurity in themselves trying to prove their worth to everyone that they talk to and making sure that everyone's okay with them. And it's not being mean. Boundaries aren't, you don't even have to say anything to hold a boundary. You just don't even have to respond. And sometimes that's all you need to do. But yeah, getting around the right people. And there's going to be people, I was talking to a client earlier today. I told her it was the crab in the bucket phenomenon. You're trying to get up and that crab is going to try to pull you back down. The crab never gets out. You don't have to put a lid on the top. They're always going to pull you back down there with them. A lot of the people that you're associated with, when they see you climbing, they're gonna say, "Hey, take it easy. You don't have to push hard. You work out too much." Like, start telling you all of these things, not because they want what's best for you, but because they feel very uncomfortable. So it's making sure you're surrounding yourself by the people that support you, that love you, that are there for you, and they don't need you for anything except for they just enjoy spending time with you. Attachments are very dangerous as well, where we become attached to other people and we think that it's love, but it's really just attachment. And letting go of that, that's where true love is where you can be happy for someone with or without them, right? And I mean, it's easier said than done, but once you get there, you just have really high quality relationships.
What was your experience with quitting drinking and your friends? Did you experience both sides of things where people were completely supportive of you, and then also the other side where they're like, "Come on, man, let's go out. What are you doing?" Things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have many of the same friends when I was drinking to where I am now. Actually, I don't know if I have any. I mean, there was a couple that I had met. So when I went through my a lot of changes in my life through my business, through my own transformation, I moved to Florida within like a year after that. So I had to make new friends anyway, which was awesome. And I was able to curate the group that I wanted. But yeah, there was definitely people that were like, "Hey, let's just go out. Hey, like you don't drink anymore. Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do? What do you do every night?" And I was like, I just enjoy myself. I go to sleep at 9. But yeah, you're definitely gonna. I did have those experiences, but honestly, it wasn't really that. I have a great community, not around like I have a amazing community, and none of it's around drinking. We do things all the time, not around drinking. So you can definitely find it. It's just a limiting belief that you need to break. I remember I told myself that I couldn't have fun without it for most of my life.
Yeah, it's always fun. People are like, What do you do? You're not gonna come out to the bars. You're not gonna go to the clubs or drink. Like, what do you do?" You're like, "Well, I mean, I enjoy life. I feel great. I get high energy. I go to sleep on time. I wake up. Yeah, whatever." I think it's pretty funny.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. There's a lot more you find that you have to discover yourself a little more too. You actually get to understand who you are because when you're drinking all the time, you're just numbing out. You just do the same thing every night. Now I have to get more creative to have fun, right? So if I do want to go out, it's going to be stepping out the comfort zone, having more conversations. It's really just a crutch at the end of the day. And that's what I realized. I was using it as a social crutch. And as you work on your self esteem, you don't really need it. It's just yeah, if you wanna have a couple, it's fine, just you feel good, and you don't have to go overdo it, but a lot of times, it is just a way that we feel more comfortable in a group, but if you go a year without it, you realize, doesn't don't really need it. It loses its power over you.
Well, I like what you said too, where you're like, you have to sit with yourself. And a lot of people don't want to sit with themselves because then they have to deal with that situation. And then it's gonna have to make some changes, and then it becomes really uncomfortable.
Oh, man, it's probably the most uncomfortable thing you do, is sitting with yourself and, especially for men, when you've been told your whole life, don't express your emotions, avoid them, don't talk about them. When you let those come up, you've been suppressing them for so long, it's literally physical pain in the body. Like you'll feel it. But it's the only way to let them go, right? You cannot release the emotions that you're holding unless you let them surface and release. Because a lot of times we'll just suppress for the rest of our life. And that's where every bad habit, that's where every vice comes from. It comes from the suppressed emotions that we're avoiding, and that energy is coming out in a different way. So it's just avoidance, or we're neutralizing it with food or porn or gambling, whatever the choice is to uh to deal with that emotion that we don't want to look at.
And so when you notice those emotions coming up, I guess, how did you work through that? How do you sit with that? I know you mentioned to me a lot of those experiences in church when you're like, you feel your temples burning. I know that was probably part of it, but how else did you navigate that? Or what's the best way to start unpacking all those emotions, especially for men who have suppressed that for so long?
Yeah, so I think a dopamine detox is super important and everyone should do that. I have a 3-day dopamine detox. It's a great starter, but I did a whole entire month where I didn't have any social media. This was very early in my personal development journey, and I didn't have a business at the time, so it was fine. And I just deleted it and I just sat with myself. And then I had rules where I wouldn't have phone in my room. So at night I was feeling those emotions because I had no way to run. And then I remember I used to tell myself this thing, like I would not stay in on a Friday and Saturday night. That's why I went out every weekend because I wasn't working and I would have to sit with my thoughts. So once I quit doing the Netflix, I quit scrolling on the phone. Then I had to sit there and then I implemented meditating and journaling as well. That was a lot. That's a lot for a lot of people to get into, but that's why I say just do it for 3 days and you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot about yourself in 3 days. You'll see these emotions come up, you'll hear these thoughts come up, and then you'll start to recognize them and then journal about it, write it down, start logging it. But that's the best way. It's just getting away from whatever your distractions are. And man, some people it's just arguing with their family, right? That's a way. That's a way to get some dopamine. That's a way to avoid those emotions, right? So just allow them to surface. Get by yourself, go for a walk, journal, yeah, I highly recommend if you're really serious about it, just delete all social media for a month, especially if you don't use it for work. But I know this day and age, a lot of people are using it for work. And it's funny, I get majority of my clients from social media, but it's like the first thing I say to get rid of. And honestly, I've barely been using it. I got a two phone technique where I have one phone for just my day to day and then one for social media. So it's strictly, I'm getting on there to post and do work, you know?
Yeah, people ask me a lot how I navigate social media. I'm like, I literally don't even go on anymore. I have no desire for it, partly for that reason. If someone's doing their dopamine detox, do you recommend just starting with social media? Or is there like a main basic list of things that you want people to start by cutting out, or what's going to be most beneficial?
Yeah, so I got a list and there's like a little link that just walks you through it. But the first thing is social media, it's sugary foods, it's television. So you unplug the TVs, all of them in your house, online shopping, I mean, gambling, none of all of these things that you would get dopamine from. It's just 3 days, you're getting rid of all of it. And then I have prompts in there like your journal each day, do 100 push ups, do 100 sit ups. It's not all at once, just like throughout the day. Give yourself a little challenge, go for a walk where you can clear your head. But that's a great way to start. Just because some people, like, I don't know what yours is. Most people, it's going to be 3 hours of social media a day. And you'll find out how much you can get done. I had a woman, one of my new clients, she finished two paintings the first dopamine detox. It was amazing. They were amazing. She showed me them. But that's what happens when you step away from your phone. Her creativity came back into her. And then a couple days later, she messaged me and found her purpose again. So it's just like stepping away from social media can give you so much. And all we're doing is consuming there. You're not creating anything. You're draining your dopamine. It's flooding you every single day. That's why you're tired. That's why you're not motivated. Like dopamine's your motivation drug. If you have no dopamine all day, how are you going to be motivated to do the work that you need to get done? It's just destroying you. So, yeah, 3 days. I mean, if you can't commit to 3 days, you're not going to make any change in your life. So,
Well, you're talking about, the dopamine hit too, you know, and the more you do something, right, the less it's gonna affect you. So, like, you get rid of a lot of those things, you hop on and watch, like, a 30-minute, sitcom or something, all of a sudden, it's way better and way more entertaining than if you're just sitting there watching TV every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I like my dark chocolate, but if you eat it all day, every day, it's not the same, yeah.
And so going back to your 18-year-old self when you said the version of you now is completely unrecognizable, even the version of you that I met 2 years ago is unrecognizable. I guess what prompted you to start making those changes? Because it's such a massive transformation. It's been so fast too. So it's like, what prompted that? What was that initial spark for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, just one day I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I was like, tired of living the life that I was living. I was tired of being hungover. I was working a job I didn't like. I quit the job. I was a teacher. I quit the job and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I just started figuring things out. I tried day trading. I tried real estate. I tried all these different things. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And my grandfather called and told me about this free seminar online to get your life back on track. And I just chuckled and I put it on the calendar and I went and checked it out. And I was like, whoa, what is this personal development stuff? This is amazing. So, mind you, this is 28 years old. Never heard of the word personal development in my life until 28 years old. And now I'm helping people go through transformations. But I just got addicted to it. I was like, this is so cool. This is amazing. Like there are so many cool things you can do. Started reading the books, started doing the seminars, started doing all the work that I could get my hands on. And yeah, that was the spark. I just got introduced. So I think like for anybody listening too, if you can just introduce one person, give them one idea, bring them to like church one day or whatever you want to help them do, just have them show up and do something and give them a book maybe. Like that could be the life transformation, right? One book. Cause I didn't think I could read before this, right? Because I told you back in middle school, high school, I got made fun of for it. So I didn't pick up a book ever. And then I was like, you know what? Let me try this. Picked up a book and now my whole room's filled with books and I read them all the time. But yeah, it was just one of those moments where I knew that I could do more. I knew I didn't like the life. I knew this wasn't sustainable and I didn't want to live like this anymore. And I just think looks out for you. And my grandfather called me and told me about that. He was watching the news and called me and he saw a commercial and called me and told me. So that's how that happened.
Love that. I feel like my story is so I can relate in so many ways to that too. Like I didn't have a big aha moment or like a necessarily a rock bottom moment where I had this big wake up call. I just woke up I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I'm tired of feeling miserable. And I also looking back at it now, like it was for sure God guiding me in the right direction. I just had that one person who gave me a little nudge, showed me what a podcast was. I didn't know what a podcast was at the time, and that opened my door to self-development too, and it becomes addicting. You even said you became addicted to self-improvement. Do you feel like one, are all addictions bad? Or like how did you translate, the addictions you had to alcohol or other vices to something good and something that's gonna propel you forward?
Yeah, I guess that was a bad choice of words. I don't think I'm addicted. At first, I would say I was heavily consuming though, and at this point now, I don't nearly consume as much because at the end of the day, you need to give yourself time to think and process. And if you're always consuming, I mean, I know people that listen to personal development 24/7 in avoidance, right? They're
Mhm.
still avoiding their thoughts in just a healthier way. And I think a lot of people do this, and you'll see people quit drinking and then they go 7 days a week in the gym. And we see these all the time where they just trade a toxic habit for a new addiction that's healthier. Not still bad though, because you're still avoiding and you're still punishing your body. Like you're working out 7 days a week, you're still punishing your body, right? You're still not feeling that worth and it's just a different way of doing it. But yeah, I mean, I think it was about addiction, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely I don't really think there are healthy addictions. Like if you're addicted to something, you need it, right? And if you need something, you have a severe attachment, and that severe attachment is going to control your life, right? Even if it is healthy, it's going to ruin your relationships. If you're going to the gym and you can't take a day off, that's not healthy. So every addiction, there's a line that you need to be like, okay, I can live without this. Because if you can't live without it, it owns you. And it doesn't really matter what it is.
It's like creating those idols, right? So maybe your idol is alcohol, and then you're like, I need to get rid of this idol. I'm going to start working out all the time, and like you said, working out is an amazing thing, super healthy for you. But then if that becomes your idol, then you just swapped out one idol for another, even though on the surface it seems like it's really healthy. I'd love to hear about your faith and how that's grown from where you started and where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, Lawrence, that triggers something in my mind there. So in personal development, I think it's really easy to start worshiping idols, right? There's these personal development people that we look up to, and in a personal development world, that's really what happens a lot of times. We like get these people, we go to their seminars, we do all their things, we read all their books. And when you're not God centered, a lot of times that takes over and that's who you're worshiping. And that's throughout the whole Bible. They're warning us about these idols. And I think personal development can be one where people think they're doing the right thing, they go all in. But yeah, my faith has grown over the last couple of years tremendously. I just got invited to church one day and I walked in and believe it or not, it was a bigger church around here. They have a whole bunch of locations. And I walked in, it's like, oh, this is just like personal development. I can do this, right? But it was a great gateway for me to get in there because I was already in personal development. I didn't really have much of a faith at the time. And yeah, so I just continued showing up and just learning more and more about God. It's really transformed my life and become the center point of my life, which has just released so much stress and so much burden from my life. When you're not the center of it anymore, you can let that ego dissolve and surrender that. It's a game changer.
I like what you said too, is you just kept showing up. I don't think anyone expects us to go to church or anywhere for the first time and be all of a sudden, oh, this is amazing. I get everything. I'm totally in. You may show up first time and not know anything or be confused or whatever, but you just got to keep going. And sooner or later, God's going to use that time to reach you and talk to you and get you going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Mackenzie mentioned it earlier. The first few times I'd go to church, like I just felt like this compressing on my temples. It felt like someone was just like pressing my head in. And it was like the craziest feeling ever. And I think it was just spiritual warfare, just like getting in there and just not being familiar. It was just a lot of energy that needed to burn off until I finally got to that point of peace. But each time I left, I just felt good. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep coming back. I'm just feeling good. And as you continue to show up, yeah, you just build that relationship. And I mean, get around the right people, get in a community. It's life changing. Getting around those people too. Like anyone that's a true believer, uh, they just got the values of the people that you really want to be around. And I think it is really important to get those communities, get in those communities and help other people step into their faith because the woman that invited me, she probably didn't know what she was going to do. And now I lead a Bible study and have all these people coming. And I still don't feel like I'm the strongest one knowing the Bible or anything like that, but just still taking leaps of faith and just doing what I feel called to do.
Yeah, and actually, funny enough, last episode we talked about our faith journey, and we talked about how I got into it, and it was literally you, the same story. So everyone listening, he was the one that did it.
That's awesome, Kevin. I love it.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, I think it was Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and I've done this before as well. Sometimes I think as a Christian, you think, well, I need to be a better Christian, or I need to have a better knowledge of the Bible, or I need to be able to be better myself, to be able to reach out to other people. And God's always like, look, dude, I don't need you. I want you to do this. You just show up and I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, honestly, that's exactly how it happens. I was living out in Colombia for the summer. I didn't know how long I was going to stay there. Just got a one way. And I just felt called to come back to St. Petersburg and build this community. And I just knew I wanted faith to be part of it. I just wanted to bring great people together. And I went to an event here, a local event here. And one of the women at the event came up to me after and tapped me on the shoulder. Was like, "Hey, we need to start a Bible study." I was like, "Dang, God's like answering my prayers, right?" These people just kept showing up. And I swear, if you just have an intention and you ask for something, it will show up in the craziest ways. A similar thing when I came back, I was in Colombia and I went on this, we were hiking these mountains in this beautiful town called Guadape, and I was like, "I'm gonna have my first retreat here." And literally got back, and a week later, I went on a walk with one of my friends, and she introduced me to this woman from Colombia that hosts retreats in Colombia. It was just like, how could that happen, right? There's no way, but I was praying for it, right? And when you start praying for it and have that intention, it's unbelievable the things that will happen.
Yeah, you're praying for it, and you got to have that faith too. If you just pray for something, be like, I'm praying for this guy, but I don't think it's really going to happen, or I don't know if it's going to happen. It probably won't. But like, I'm imagining you had like that strong faith, like I'm praying for this guy because it's going to happen. You just show me when and where.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, that just comes back to, yeah, just living in that abundance too, right? Just knowing that God's working, knowing that things are coming and not having to try to figure it all out, just asking for it and knowing. It's so hard for people to get there a lot of times because they live in that lack state and they always need and they want, and they think that they need to know all the answers before they get started. But if you just get moving, things will start working for you. Like business, right? Nobody knows where we're going. You just get started and things will happen. People will show up. And if you just get started, it's the hardest thing to do, right? Is get started. Most people cannot invest in themselves, right? They just don't, they've never done it before and they will probably never do it. But once they finally do, they get the right person to talk them into it. I mean, you guys do it all the time, I'm sure, transforming people, and they're hesitant at first, but they finally invest in themselves and they're like, okay, I got started. Now they're started. Now that's a ripple effect for the rest of their life and everybody else in their life.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the hesitancy it comes from just like a lack of confidence, self-confidence, or like self-esteem like you were talking about, or just a lack of like, okay, I don't know if I really want to do this because like we've said, this is going to change a lot of things. It's going to have to change me and it might get a little bit comfortable. And I'm really used to, even though I'm saying I want to change, even though I say there's a lot of things I don't know if I really want to.
Yeah. I mean, fear of commitment and fear of failure are some of the biggest challenges for people. It's not really the money at the end of the day. It's normally, what am I going to have to do? Will I be successful? And what if I'm not? Right. And getting uncomfortable doing things that you've never done before, but it's so worth it. And that's the only way to create a breakthrough. You're going to have to do something different. You got to interrupt your current patterns. You have to do something different. You have to take a chance. You have to say something different. You have to go do, just do one thing. And if you can do that and just show up and consistently build, you can really change anything. And some of the things, I was telling someone this the other day, my biggest pains in my life, the things that I struggled with the most, where I was hurting the most, where I felt the most insecure, are my purpose now. It's where I'm helping people. So just because you haven't done it before doesn't mean that you can't do it. And it might be your gift, right? So it's pretty cool how God works like that as well.
Yeah, we're always most equipped to help the person that we once were, the place that we were in before, the thing that we were struggling with the most, especially because you've gone through it, you've experienced it, you've seen both sides of it. And so it gives us the purpose to be able to go and help serve other people. And so I guess if someone is stuck in that place or they're stuck where you were 10 years ago, what would be one of the best first steps that they can take if they want to break a destructive pattern, if they want to recreate their identity, if they want to break these bad habits? What's like one first step that they can take?
First thing I would say is just get consistent on 30 minutes to an hour. First 30 minutes of the day, no cell phone, take a walk. Just get outside and move your body. I don't care how cold it is and just keep showing up. I go home for Delaware and I love when it's cold because, or cold and raining actually, because I know nobody else is going to be out there. But for me, it's like that first 30 minutes, if I can just get out there and do it, it feels so good. And you'll just start to build confidence. And even here in Florida, it's been like 30s in the morning for some reason. But I've still been going on my walks every morning, and it's just like I'll bundle up and do it because I know how important that is. And just it's not challenging. It's just something you have to commit to. It's a 30-minute, it's a walk. We're not asking anything too hard. And if you could just be out there with your thoughts, with no distractions, with no phone, you're gonna start to hear some things that you haven't heard before. You're gonna start to feel some things you haven't felt before. You're gonna get some answers that you've been looking for. So that's where I would start. 30-minute walk, no phone in the morning, and just get moving.
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about today that you think is important to discuss or that you want people to know or start thinking about?
Now, I would just say if you're thinking about making a change, if there's something that you want, go get it. And don't talk yourself out of it. Don't go after the things that you think you can get. So many of us go after what we think we can get. And when I first started my business, I built a business that I thought I could build, right? Not the one that I actually wanted. And I had to break more limiting beliefs to get there. But whatever it is that you want, you don't need to figure out how. And most of us will think, okay, well, I want this, but I don't have X, Y, and Z, so I can't do it. So I'm just going to do this instead. That's the wrong answer because now you're going your whole life and you're creating a life that you don't even want. And the other thing I would say that's attached to that is say what you believe too. Just tell people what you believe because otherwise you're going to create a whole life that you don't want as well. Because if I'm telling you what I think you want me to say, I'm attracting the wrong people. And if I keep saying that over and over again, I'm creating a life that I don't want. I'm doing things because other people, I think other people want me to do it. And if I keep people pleasing and I keep trying to make everybody else happy, you're going to end up building this life that you hate. So it's better just to be honest. You'll push the people away from you that you don't need in your life. You'll attract the people and the things into your life that you want, but you got to ask for it. Just say what you want. I think that's the biggest thing in life. It's like find your purpose, and your purpose is whatever you just like desire, whatever it is that you want, whatever you get excited about. And you're probably not going to know how to do it. I didn't know how the retreat was going to happen. I didn't know how I was going to do this coaching now because I didn't have any prior experience to it, right? The experience was my own personal development journey, right? And but I wanted it. So I just figured out a way. And another thing I would say too, if you're getting started on your journey, the coolest thing you can do is make a video and just say like where you're at and where you want to go and what you're battling with. And next time you have a hard day, pull out your phone and just start recording and just talk about how you're feeling, what your challenges are. And if you do that like every 6 months and do a little check in, like what your challenges are, where you're headed, you won't even be able to recognize yourself. It's going to be so cool looking back because you're going to look different. You're going to feel different. You're going to be talking different. Everything's going to be different. And I think that's one of the coolest things because if I look back 3 years ago, like thinking about it, I can't really, I knew a little bit, but like watching the video, like, dang, like you just feel so bad for him. You're like, that's so cool. And I think that's one of the coolest experiences if you can just document a little bit of it. Don't share. I haven't shared it with anybody. It's just on my phone and I just check in and look at it every once in a while.
Well, you showed me one of them for sure, and it even I was like, "Who is that guy?" Like, you can just tell by the energy, everything is completely different. I love that idea. What do you think is the biggest thing that you've learned since doing those recordings and looking back at those old videos and those old versions of yourself?
Biggest thing is, it's a good question. I guess the biggest thing I learned was that's a good, I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot of it. I think it's just going after what you want at the end of the day and not trying to figure out what's going to make you money, right? Because I got into day trading trying to make money, and that's when I made the video. I was day trading every day, and then I tried to do real estate because I thought I was going to make money. And the money is it's cool, but it's not everything. Like when I get off the calls, my coaching calls, like this is almost every night. I have a gratitude journal, one of the ones that I gave you. At the end of the night, I write down my highlights of the day, and a lot of times it's a coaching call. So what I'm doing for work and who I get to work with and who I get to help is one of the things I'm grateful for. It's like the highlight of my day. So if you can find something, and everyone's not going to find it, but just find your purpose. And I think that's the most important thing is to find your purpose in life. And it doesn't have to be a job. I always say, like, you might be the person that hosted dinner parties in the community, right? You're not making money on it, but you're getting people together. You're serving a purpose. Or you get the bonfire and the volleyball group together. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is your purpose? How are you showing up? Or maybe it's just your philanthropy. Like, find something that is your purpose that's going to drive you. And if it can be your job, even better. But I think that's the most important thing that I learned just looking back at those videos. I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to do. I was doing what you go to school, you come out and you get a job, right? And then you drink on the weekends with your buddies and you go back and you work. But you're not looking forward to anything because you're not living in purpose. So if you can get clear on what that is and then start building a plan from there, start letting go and releasing everything that's in the way, you'll get to where you want. It's really just a battle against yourself. You're releasing the old version of you, letting that version of you die so this new you can come through and build the life that you want. And it's so much more fun. You don't need the alcohol. You don't need any of the toxic stuff because you're having so fun living in your purpose that you're excited to do it. And that's your fulfillment. It's not running and distracting from your life and avoiding it. It's just building a life that you thoroughly enjoy, which is so rewarding.
Yeah, I love that. Even what you said previous too is just start. That's all you gotta do is take that first step. You don't need to know how. You, I, Lawrence, everyone who started anything meaningful, we had no clue what we're doing. We still could argue that we have no clue. Maybe I just speak for myself, but it's like we're just taking that first step and then that next one, and God's gonna reveal the next one. Doors are going to open, but a lot of people, like you were saying too, to the avoiding point is even gathering info, trying to prep and prepare, and you wait for the right time. Like it's all avoidance. It's like just take that first step. The rest is gonna reveal itself.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one more story that for anyone that is on the fence about getting started of how this happened for me. So I told you I quit my teaching job. I was bartending at the time just to pay bills. And I went and I hired my first coach, and it was a lot of money for me at the time. And I quit my bartending job at the same time. So I had no income coming in and I was going to start a business, right? And most people don't do that. They'll like hold on to a job. But I knew my personality and I was like, if I have an option, I won't be all in. So I just went all in literally, and I didn't know how it was going to happen. And I just made a first post and I got a first client and I was like, wow, that was cool. And yeah, it was a struggle in the mind. It was up and down, but it was like going all in and just committing and getting rid of my other options. Now that's extreme and you can work your way into it, but it's just committing to it, right? And at the end of the day, I never make massive changes unless I commit. Unless like I put it on the calendar, unless I say it's going to happen, and tell a friend too, right? When I quit drinking, I told like three of my best friends. I told you, I was like, I'm done. I'm done for this year. Like, and once I told them, there was no way I was going back because I would look like an idiot if I was drinking 2 weeks later. Yeah, so Kate Clavier on my Instagram is a great way to connect with me. Kevin Clavier.com would be a great way to connect as well. And then I mean, all the platforms, Facebook, TikTok, but the best way to reach me would be on Instagram and shoot me an email at kevinclavier13 at gmail.com as well. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, nice meeting you, Lawrence.
You too.
See ya.